Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
For writers and public personalities, it's becoming increasingly important to have an online presence. This normally takes the form of a website and social media. However, things like a cluttered site or broken links can scare potential readers away. It's time to get a health check. Until the 30th of June, Black Wolf Editorial Services is offering a special website health check package. Get a new bio for your site. Have the site navigation and general layout assessed. Get a review of your Twitter activities. Get an objective opinion about your public Facebook page. Find out what works well and what could potentially scare your readers away. And all this for $35. At the end of the day, the face we put online will be the one that most people will see. Let us help you put your best foot forward. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For full details and a list of other services, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark. The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for Point of View. All right, this is Jessie. I'm so happy to be back with you guys live. I know it's been a couple days since I've been live. I had a number of snafus yesterday that kind of forced me to push back the time. And I did upload an episode. It's one you hadn't heard, because no one heard it until yesterday. So if you missed it, you can find it on my website or on iTunes. Yeah, bet you didn't know that. I haven't talked about that a lot. But my shows are now downloadable as podcasts on iTunes. Yay! Also, you can of course hear me at K98talk.org or on Spreaker under the K98 station. So please listen in, because all my shows are available live, on demand, and for download, so you can take them with you while you're walking the dog or doing whatever you're doing. All right, there is a lot of news to get through today. A lot of it. Let's start off with one that is near and dear to my heart. Freedom of the press. There were journalists in Egypt that were sentenced to death. Yes, I said sentenced to death. Now, thankfully, 2 of them were sentenced in absentia, which means they weren't actually in the courtroom when they were sentenced. So, I've got some audio on that. Let's take a listen.
Cairo, an Egyptian court on Saturday sentenced 6 people, including 2 Al Jazeera employees, to death for allegedly passing documents related to national security to Qatar and the Doha-based TV network during the rule of Islamist President Mohamed Morsi. Morsi, the case's top defendant, and 2 of his aides were sentenced to 25 years in prison. Morsi and his secretary, Amin El-Sirafi, each received an additional 15-year sentence for a lesser crime. El-Sarari's daughter, Karima, was also sentenced to 15 years in prison. Morsi, Egypt's first freely elected leader, was ousted by the military in July 2013 and has already been sentenced to death in another case. That death sentence and another 2, life and 20 years in prison, are under appeal. His Muslim Brotherhood was banned and declared a terrorist organization after his ouster. Khalid Radwin, a producer at a Brotherhood-linked TV channel, received a 15-year prison sentence. All of Saturday's verdicts can be appealed. Of the case's 11 defendants, 7, including Morsi, are in custody. Amnesty International called for the death sentences to be immediately thrown out and for the ludicrous charges against the journalists to be dropped. The 2 Al Jazeera employees, identified by the judge as news producer Alar Omar Mohammed and news editor Ibrahim Mohammed Hilal, were sentenced to death in absentia along with Asmaa Al-Khatib, who worked for RASD, a media network widely suspected of links to Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood. There was no immediate comment from Al Jazeera on Saturday's verdicts, but a news story on the Al Jazeera English website identified Hilal as a former director of news at Al Jazeera's Arabic channel and said Alar Omar Mohammed was an Al Jazeera employee until last year. The 3 other defendants sentenced to death Saturday are documentary producer Ahmed Afafai, Egypt Air cabin crew member Mohammed Kailani and academic Ahmed Ismail. Egyptian judge Mohammed Shrine Fahmy speaks during the trial of ousted Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi in Cairo, Egypt on Saturday. Mohammed Hassam, EPA, Judge Mohammed Shirin Fahmy recommended the death sentence for the 6 last month. Under standard procedure in cases of capital punishment, his recommendation went to the office of Egypt's Grand Mufti, the nation's top Muslim theological authority, for endorsement. Fahmy quoted the Mufti's office as saying the 6 had sought to harm the country when they passed to a foreign nation details of the army's deployment as well as reports prepared by intelligence agencies. They are more dangerous than spies, because spies are usually foreigners, but these are, regrettably, Egyptians who betrayed the trust, the judge said. No ideology can ever justify the betrayal of one's country. Egypt's relations with Qatar have been fraught with tension since the ouster of Morsi, who enjoyed the support of the tiny but wealthy Gulf state. Cairo also maintains that Al Jazeera's news coverage of Egypt and elsewhere in the Middle East is biased in favor of militant Islamic groups. Last year, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi pardoned 2 imprisoned journalists from the Al Jazeera English news network. Mohammed Fahmy, an Egyptian-born Canadian, and Egyptian Bayer Mohammed were arrested in December 2013. They had been sentenced to 3 years in prison for airing what a court described as false news and coverage biased in favor of the Muslim Brotherhood. The prosecution of the two, along with Australian Peter Grester, another Al Jazeera English reporter who was deported in February last year, drew strong international condemnation. Their long-running trial was entangled from the start with the wider political enmity between Egypt and Qatar following Morsi's ouster.
All right, so for those of you who are unaware, freedom of the press is not a worldwide right. It is a right that I enjoy here in America, and it's what allows me to bring you this show. Personally, I don't think that the journalists should be executed because from what I can tell from the news reports, which are a little sparse, says nobody wants to cover Egypt anymore unless they're pro-Morsi. The evidence presented by the journalists actually clears them. I feel this is a miscarriage of justice. Unfortunately, I doubt my voice will do much to sway public opinion, but I can hope and pray that it will have some impact. All right. Now, on to a topic you know I cover routinely. North Korea. Now, before I get into the two, yes, I said two, missile launches North Korea conducted yesterday, I've got a couple other things to say about North Korea. Did you know North Korea and Russia have signed a secret deal? Now, this is from an Al Jazeera article. All right, Russia and Iran have reportedly signed a secret deal on wide cooperation in space exploration. And this would give them the ability to put satellites in orbit that would take photos up to 70 centimeters in resolution per pixel. Per pixel. So basically anything outside would no longer be private, even in your own backyard in North Korea and Russia or anyone else, where else they cared to place a satellite. Now, people are wondering if this is an echo of the Cold War or a new version of the old Cold War. Who knows? But I will say I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Especially because you have Russia, for those living under Iraq, backing Bashar al-Assad. In Syria, oh yes, if you weren't paying attention, I said Russia's supporting Bashar al-Assad. In fact, Russia has gone so far as to bomb the quote-unquote moderate radicals that the U.S. is training to defeat ISIS. Anybody really think that's a mistake or an oops on their part? Can't say I do. I just can't say I think that's an oops. But let's get back to North Korea. Russia's not the only country with space ties. Nope. Or at least ties. It's unclear whether this one's directly related to space, but hey. India has an embarrassing connection to North Korea. Wait a minute. We're friends with India, and they've got a connection to North Korea? I had to learn what it was. Now, I haven't gotten too many more details than I could find in the Al Jazeera report. And if I do manage to get more details, I will bring it to you either on a show or a Saturday Slowdown. All right. New Delhi, India, is the North Korea Hong Young-il is North Korea's embassy's new first secretary to India. He's been in the country for just a month. Now that ain't long. Anyway, Hong Kong's stint in India and North Korea are all tied together. They're working on a scientific research center in Dahedram, a small town in the foothills of the Himalayas. It's about 235 kilometers. Sorry, guys, haven't done the math for miles. From the Indian capital, New Delhi. And Hong, in fact, was one of the very first students that they sent there to train in science. And since then, North Korea has sent at least 30, yes, you heard me, 30 students to train at the Institute. 2 are currently studying there, one of whom is affiliated with the National Aerospace Development Administration, which, according to the report, says it plays a key role in the country's nuclear development. Yes, you heard me. I said nuclear development. And guess what? It kept sending scientists and space employees even after the UN issued its first set of nuclear sanctions in 2006, prohibiting member countries, yes, India is a member of the UN, from providing technical training to North Korea. Oh yeah, and this was exposed in March 2016 in an annual report to the UN Security Council. The repeated applications by North Korea indicates the courses were relevant to its nuclear weapons and ballistic missile development program. Now, does that really surprise anyone? North Korea wanting to learn about ballistic missile technology? They sure need some learning, although I'm not sure I don't want them to fail every time they try and launch a missile. But does it surprise anybody that they're trying to learn this stuff? India and North Korea are not traditional allies. They have shared diplomatic relations since the 70s. But India has also been one of North Korea's staunchest opponents of nuclear weapons development. The center is near the Himalayas is funded in part by the UN, along with India and several other organizations. And the center claims that the sanction was taken into account in the admission process to the center. India justifies the content of the courses, saying that the topics covered are very general, and the basic principles of these courses are available from open source to anyone. Now wait a minute. Just because I have information that you can find elsewhere on how to build a bigger, better bomb, do you really think I should share that, especially with a country that's a little bit unstable? Come on. I don't think I should share it. I hope you don't either. North Korean students who trained at the school have gone on to occupy important state positions in Pyongyang. Oh yeah, you heard me. North Korean students who trained at the school near the Himalayas, run by India, have gone on to occupy important state positions in Pyongyang. Park Chung-ho, who'd been on the satellite communications course at the Institute in 1999 to 2000, became the head of an agency involved with North Korea's first satellite launch in 2012. Now, North Korea doesn't have a reputation for getting its launches right, but I fear the day they do. So, all right, I've got some audio about those North Korean missile tests. Now, first let's talk about it. If you didn't hear it, North Korea launched not one, but 2 missile tests. Yes, you heard me. Not one, but two. That's not good. No, really, that's not good. And here's an article from the New York Times. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick for you. That basically says North Korea launched an intermediate-range ballistic missile into high altitude on Wednesday morning, demonstrating that the country was making progress after 5 consecutive failures in just over 2 months. Alright, so before we gave them posters, they were making progress. People don't like them now. My question is it the poster? Or is it the technology that people don't think our country should be sharing? Who knows? Only time will tell. South Korea said that in North Korea's previous fire, the Musdan tests, including one earlier this week, or last week now at this time, said the projectiles all crashed into the sea or exploded in midair soon after flight. Yeah, but what about the one time they get it right, folks? We have to be right 100% of the time. Terrorists only have to be right once. Alright. That's probably enough about the lunatic in the north, at least for my babbling. I do have some audio on it, so let's take a listen. Where is that audio? Alright, I know I've got it here. Here it is. Alright, let's take a listen to this audio.
Launched 2 missiles. The first one failed, but another, hours after, flew about 400 kilometers. It's likely to be North Korea's most effective test so far. A South Korea unification spokesperson condemned the launches.
A launch of a projectile using ballistic missile technology violates UN resolutions and is a clear provocation against us.
Pyongyang rejects the ban by the UN Security Council and says it infringes on its sovereignty. For the past 2 months, it's made several attempts to launch the Musudan, designed to fly more than 3,000 kilometers that could, in theory, reach Japan. But in Tokyo, many residents say they're not worried.
They've done this many times, so as a Japanese, we think it's not going to reach us anyway. We've become numb to it. Overall, we, including myself, don't feel any threat.
However, some experts say missile failures are part of normal testing and warn that North Korea will eventually fix the problems.
Alright, so everybody came out against North Korea for the launch. I do have one more audio clip I want to play about it, and then we're going to discuss it a little bit more, and then we're going to move on. As you know, I've discussed North Korea and their missile program and their nuclear program multiple times. For any of you missing this information, please go back through my shows. It's there. I even did a show on Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, and where he spent his teenage years. And it's also where he learned to love basketball. All right, let's listen to this second audio clip about North Korea nuclear launch.
Launched 2 missiles. The first one failed, but another, hours after, flew about 400 kilometers. It's likely to be North Korea's most effective test so far. A South Korea unification spokesperson condemned the launches.
A launch of a projectile using ballistic missile technology violates UN resolutions and is a clear provocation against us.
Pyongyang rejects the ban by the UN Security Council and says it infringes on its sovereignty. For the past 2 months, it's made several attempts to launch the Musudan, designed to fly more than 3,000 kilometers that could, in theory, reach Japan. But in Tokyo, many residents say they're not worried.
They've done this many, many times, so as a Japanese, we think it's not going to reach us anyway. We've become numb to it. Overall, we, including myself, don't feel any threat.
However, some experts say missile failures are part of normal testing and warn that North Korea will eventually fix the problems.
Summer's here.
Sorry about that. A little extra audio crept in, but that's okay. All right. In Washington, John Kirby, a State Department spokesman, said that the United States strongly condemned the tests and intend to discuss the North's prohibited activities at the Security Council. All right. I love the UN. I love the Security Council. But honestly, their resolutions don't seem to have much in the way of teeth unless we put military power behind it. And we are not ready to do that. I mean, our current commander-in-chief isn't ready to take a seriously strong stance against ISIS. We expect him to do anything about North Korea? Who, just to remind everybody who regularly listens into my show, recently restarted their reactors. Yes, you heard me. They've restarted their reactors to process fuel for plutonium to get the highly enriched stuff needed to build what? Bombs. Yes, I said bombs. Nuclear bombs. All right. We also know that Iran and North Korea are working together. We've discussed this multiple times. I'm not going to go into it. The information is out there. So, this act was a clear provocation. Japanese Defense Ministry said it should believe the test showed that North Korea's missile technology was advancing, because the second of the 2 missiles fired had reached an altitude of 620 miles, indicating a degree of capability as a mid-range ballistic missile. Now, on a previous show, I told you that according to reports, North Korea has miniaturized a nuclear warhead enough to fit on, guess what? A mid-range ballistic missile. Yes, I said it. They may have a nuclear warhead that will fit this Musudan missile. I don't really think anybody wants North Korea in the nuclear club, but they may not have a choice. So, North Korea began testing the Musudan on April 15th after repeated calls by its leader, Kim Jong-un, for his military to conduct more nuclear and missile tests, despite international sanctions. It also repeatedly threatened nuclear strikes against the United States, claiming it has built a weapon small enough to be mounted on various ballistic missiles. So they may be able to do more than one, but we don't know for sure, because it is the Hermit Kingdom. Now, what's special about the Musudan? Alright, if rockets are in a fixed and stable place, i.e. they can't be moved, we can take them out. We can take out the launch pads needed to launch those weapons relatively easily. The Musudan is mobile. Yes, I said it's mobile. Analysts say that the North has been struggling to master the so-called warhead reentry technology to build longer-range projectiles, known as intercontinental ballistic missiles. I honestly think they're going to figure it out in time. Do I want to give it to them anyway? No. That would be accepting defeat. And you know I don't do that. You know I don't do that. All right. We are at the midway point in the show or the top of the hour. So we are going to take a brief commercial break. Now, before I do that, before I go to commercial break, for those of you who've listened to me regularly, you know I have a friend who's an editor. Her website is blackwolfeditorial.com. And I kind of reached out to her yesterday because she's running a giveaway. And I have not been live on the air with you enough this week to announce her giveaway. So she extended it. But only until Saturday. Well, midnight the 25th here in the U.S. She's giving away 2, not 1, but 2 free critique packages. One of them's for up to 5,000 words. The other one's for up to 2,500 words. Yes, you heard me. They're free. Now, for all the details on how to enter, visit her website, blackwolfeditorial.com. The information is right there. She's using Rafflecopter, and you can also find the information on her Facebook page. She is on Twitter at Judy L. Moore. Now, she's a great friend of mine. She is an awesome editor. Trust me. And if you haven't heard about her health check service, where you get a social media checkup to make sure your Twitter, your Facebook, and your web page and all that are working together, and they've all got similar branding, and everything looks right, and your web page isn't confusing or off-putting to anybody that might be visiting, that special ends at the end of June. So if you want to take advantage of it, I seriously encourage you to reach out. And she's doing all that for $35 for her health check, which is an amazing deal. Judy, thank you for extending your contest for me. I appreciate it. I wanted to give my readers a chance. Or my listeners, sorry. I say readers. I'm reading her webpage. What can I say? In that way, I am a reader, but you guys are listeners. All right. Now, let's pay the rest of those bills.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
Hey, this is Dave Bray, America's Patriotic Rocker. Just giving you a shout out. Make sure you stay tuned and listen in to K98 Talk.
All right. I thank you for being patient with me while I got those bills paid. Now, tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, Dave Bray is going to be on the air live on the Conservative Curmudgeon radio show. I can't wait to tune in. He's got new songs to talk about and all kinds of other exciting new projects. I can't wait to hear all about it. So I'm going to encourage you to tune into the Conservative Curmudgeon at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. Then, tonight at 10 o'clock, America Off the Rails with Rick Robinson, who, by the way, if you missed it on Monday, interviewed Nick Sarwark of the chairman of the Libertarian Party. So, if you're looking for a candidate who isn't, as it was so aptly described, Voldemort or, I can't remember the other one, the evil guy from Lord of the Rings, Sauron. If you're looking for a candidate that isn't either Sauron or Voldemort, Libertarian may be the way to go, but I'm not going to tell you how to vote. I will tell you that neither Trump nor Hillary will get my vote. Now, what I do down ticket, that's a whole other story. But I will not cast a vote for either Hillary or Trump or Voldemort or Sauron as they become, and I'll let you figure out which one's Voldemort and which one's Sauron. Flip a coin. All right. That's enough babble. I've got a couple more things to discuss. You know I've always got something to talk about. Come on. Why would I be here if I didn't? All right. We're going to talk about Zika and the impact it's having on the upcoming Olympic Games in Rio. Now, for those of you living under a rock, the Olympic Games are in Rio this year, which is having a whole bunch of problems of its own. Now, this audio clip's kind of long, and you may not understand why it's related, but just listen. It is, I promise, but it does a really clear explanation of why it's important we tackle Zika. And it was put out by PBS, which is a fairly reputable organization and fairly reliable. So let's take a listen.
The Roman Empire, at its height home to 1 in 5 people on Earth, but add in a few hundred years of corrupt decadence and barbarian invasions, and oh how the mighty do fall. Attila the Hun was bad enough, but Rome had another enemy on the inside. The city of ancient Rome was a lot like Hollywood. Rich people partied in the hills, poor people lived down below, until they died young. Most likely cause of death? Fevers caused by bad air. Wrong reason, right words. DNA pulled from 5th century graves near Rome matched the parasite that causes malaria. And once scholars started looking, they realized the spread of malaria was a big reason the empire went to ruin. After they connected the world, Romans brought home more than they bargained for, a disease that targets children and the poor, and the insects that help it spread. And that's what brings us to Zika.
The nation's top health officials warning that the Zika virus appears to be a lot scarier than first thought.
Florida now declaring a health emergency. At least 9 cases.
Now more than 30 cases detected here in the U.S.
Already 346 Zika cases are reported all over the country.
Everything we look at with this virus seems to be a bit scarier than we initially thought.
When the Zika virus was declared a global public health emergency in February 2016, this was all that scientists had ever written about it. But we've learned a lot more in the months since. Here's the facts. Zika gets its name from the forest in Uganda where it was first isolated. Like its flavivirus relatives, it looks like an awesome soccer ball, but it's considerably less fun to play with. Over the next 60 years, Zika popped up in the odd monkey or mosquito, but prior to a 2007 outbreak on the Pacific island of Yap, only 14 human cases had ever been reported. Of course, that all changed in late 2015 when Brazil noticed thousands of babies born with abnormally small heads and brains. There's now little doubt that Zika is directly to blame. Unlike most viruses, not only can Zika cross the placenta from mother to child, but we now know it specifically targets developing brain cells. Worse, Zika also kills radial glial cells, which normally act as a scaffold to shape the developing brain. There's no treatment or vaccine, and symptoms are usually so mild that most people don't even know they have it. The World Health Organization has resorted to telling women in Zika-affected areas, don't get pregnant, which is a pretty good sign we don't have any good options. Of course, the virus can't do all this on its own. A few cases of sexual transmission aside, almost everyone who's caught Zika got it from one of these. Only a tiny fraction of the more than 3,000 known mosquito species bite humans. But Aedes aegypti is one of the worst. It feeds during the day, it likes being indoors, and even sneaks up on people from behind. Every mosquito breeds in standing water, but even a discarded candy wrapper can hold enough for Aedes to lay its eggs. Of course, that doesn't even matter because Aedes eggs can be dried out for months and still hatch. Zika has continued to march north, and the US has seen a few hundred cases in travelers returning from Zika areas, including nearly 200 pregnant women. So, will Zika start spreading locally? That depends. We have the mosquitoes. Aedes aegypti was accidentally imported decades ago and is present across the south. And there's a good chance its more widespread relative, Aedes albopictus, could also carry the disease, just not quite as well. If colder climate species like Culex are able to pick up the virus, there isn't much of North America or Europe that's out of reach. To keep the virus from gaining a foothold, the secret is to keep from getting bit. Mosquitoes can't pass it to each other, they need us in between. There's still a lot of unanswered questions about Zika, but the biggest is, why now? Well, the world's a very different place than it was 50 years ago. There's more people, and they live closer together than ever before. We migrate on massive scales, whether it's the Olympics or refugees fleeing war. Perfect ingredients for an outbreak. It's likely Zika always had the potential to be dangerous, it just never got the chance. And it's not just Zika. We're seeing more weird outbreaks in general. Dengue, chikungunya, schistosomiasis, a parasite carried by snails, is now second only to malaria. Yeah, bet you never thought you had to worry about snails. And have we forgotten about Ebola already? It's a scary new pattern. Every year, another tropical disease pops up out of seemingly nowhere, and we're caught off guard. The biggest risk factor for these diseases isn't geography or genetics, it's poverty. Zika thrives when there's lots of people around to bite, but it helps if they don't have windows on their houses or their neighborhood is full of trash. You might think these problems are far away, but most of the world's neglected diseases, from Zika to that one with the snails, strike poor people in the 20 richest nations on Earth. In Houston's 5th Ward, doctors are already finding diseases like dengue, leishmaniasis, and the ingredients are perfect for Zika to check in. We should develop vaccines and drugs to fight Zika, but there will be another Zika or Ebola or weird snail parasite thing to take its place. Maybe the best way to keep people healthy is to help them live better. Because if the Romans have taught us anything, it's that everyone is vulnerable, no matter how high on the hill you build your house. Stay curious. This episode of It's Okay to Be Smart is
Alright, so we just learned quite a bit about Zika in that, and I felt it was very important to play the whole clip because it reinforces the fact there is no vaccine, there is no cure. Now, there are a number of athletes pulling out of Rio due to Zika. Vijay Singh was among the first athletes to publicly say he would skip the Rio Olympics. While some say of Singh's status that skipping the Olympics wouldn't be huge by itself, Singh's specific reasons are important. He specifically cited Zika, and he is a golfer. John Isner, top American tennis, won't be representing his country at the Olympics. He cited Zika and a busy schedule. All right. Now, I will say that the Olympics come a week after Eisner is set to try and defend his crown as three-time defending BBT and Atlanta Open champion, so that may have something to do with it. All right. All right. Louis Oosthuizen, a South African athlete, didn't give a reason, but he said family and scheduling issues. All right, I'm willing to bet that some of these family and scheduling issues are somewhat related to Zika. Blake Griffin will miss the Olympics. He's a basketball player, but he's missing due to a quad injury. Mark Leisham won't be heading to Rio, and it's because of Zika. Dominic Thiem, Thiem, sorry if I mispronounced it. His reason was vague. He said he won't participate in the Olympics. He said for quote-unquote many reasons. Instead, he's playing in a low-level tournament in Mexico. Anybody want to make a guess there? Feliciano Lopez backed out due to conflicts leading to the U.S. Open. And he's a Spanish tennis player. Bernard Tomic has backed out, and he said personal circumstances and schedule. TJ Van Garderen has pulled his name out, and he said if his wife wasn't pregnant. Now, if you were paying attention during that audio clip, who does the thing impact? Pregnant women. All right. That's why he pulled out. His wife's pregnant. Savannah Guthrie. She's not an athlete, but she is the Today Show anchor. But she is pregnant, so she's staying home because of Zika. LaMarcus Aldridge. And he's having a finger injury. Steph Curry pulled out of the Olympics due to recent ankle and knee injuries. So, like I said, it's one of those things. There's a lot of people pulling out. Also, a couple new names have been added to that list since this article was printed, and I've got them here. I'm just pulling them up. Rory McIlroy. He's a golfer. I had to look it up myself, so don't feel bad if you didn't know he was a golfer. I do pay attention to the world of sports, but usually not that sport and not that much. And he said he is pulling out due to Zika. So, come on. This virus is clearly having an impact. And the Lincoln Journal-Star had another update. We've got Rory McIlroy, Vijay Singh, Mark Seisman, TJ Vanguard. So, I mean, athletes from all over the world are pulling out. And a lot of them are doing it because of Zika. Can I say I blame them? No. 1, 2, 3 golfers and a cyclist have specifically cited Zika. And 1 media personality. Come on. This is a major concern. Can I blame them? No. All right. I think that's enough about Zika. I got at least one more story. Don't think I've forgotten the Brexit. Come on, that's a huge story. All right, we're going to lead off with some audio. Now, I'm going to tell you up front, I don't agree with the end of the audio, but I like the way it presents the story. So we're going to take a listen to the Brexit audio, and then we'll talk about it.
A lot's at stake when Britain votes on quitting the European Union. The Remain campaign, led by Prime Minister David Cameron, has hammered away on the costs of Brexit, slower growth, broken alliances, diminished influence. Boris Johnson, the most popular spokesman for the Leave campaign, says it's all about sovereignty. Will Britain govern itself or be ruled from Brussels? The polls say it's close, and there's a reason. Both sides in the debate are right. Whatever Britain does, it will regret it. Britain depends on the EU for 44% of its exports and 48% of its investment from abroad. Study after study says Brexit will cost. What's worse, Europe won't make Brexit easy. Anti-EU feeling is strong in France, the Netherlands and many other countries. The EU will want to discourage other rebels. The Remain campaign has overplayed the doom and gloom, but it's basically right about the dangers. Trouble is, the Leave campaign is also right. The EU does infringe sovereignty. It's meant to. It's a political project, pledged to ever closer union. Europe has a parliament, an executive and a supreme court, the institutions of a nation-state. Over time, the ties will strengthen, an evolution most Brits are sure to resent. Unlike France, Italy and Germany, Britain doesn't see the European project as a way to come to terms with a terrible past. It's proud of its history, like the US is proud, and no more likely than the US to ever be comfortable with rule from abroad. Brits are pragmatic. I'm still betting they'll do the sensible thing on June 23rd, but then repent their timidity and hate the EU all the more.
All right, like I said, what the sensible thing is, not for me to say, but I do have some news about the Brexit. All right, let's start with why should the U.S. care? All right, just like its former colony, Britain is in the just like the U.S., Britain is in the midst of divisive times and at times ugly debate over national identity and the nation's role in the world. With accusations of bad faith the order of the day. And in the U.S., the fissures are not so much along traditional party lines as they are between international-oriented elites and those who feel misaligned or usurped by them in their interest. Now, for those of you who live under a rock or didn't catch my show last week, Joe Cox, a member of Parliament, was killed. She was shot. Yes, in a country where guns are banned. She was shot for her support of the UK staying in the EU. Now, a lot of high publicity people have come out for and against. Soccer star David Beckham has voiced his support for staying in. Oh yeah. I don't see anyone that's come out on the Leave side, but this vote is clearly expected to affect markets, stock markets worldwide. And as the former police officer Jonathan Nicholas I had on last week said, The UK is a donor country to the EU. It takes a huge financial hit to support the EU that the smaller countries can't. Now, if Leave wins, there's a strong case that Farage is the most influential British politician never to have sat in Parliament. He's a UKIP leader, and his only legislative service has been in the European Parliament in Brussels. Even so, he has campaigned for Britain to leave the EU for more than 20 years. And now is his chance. Alright. There have been reports that the Queen even asked people the other day, why should we stay? What benefits does it have? Well, I guess that depends on which side of the fence you're on. Alright, let's take a look at a little bit more about Brexit, and then we're going to take a quick spin through my mailbox. So, got one more article I wanted to touch on with Brexit. Then we're going to take that spin through my mailbox. You know, I've always got something interesting hiding in my mailbox. And I've already got it pulled up. And by the way, the Brexit vote is tomorrow. Yes, it is tomorrow. So by the time most Americans get up, the UK will be at the polls. Alright, while the referendum is okay over the UK's place in the EU, a vote to leave could have far-reaching consequences for the kingdom itself because of its constituent parts, such as England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. They all hold different views, yet they are all united under the Crown. The short version is the voters in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland are going to vote on the 23rd. And I see why. As an EU member state, their borders are open to anyone who sneaks in to the EU at any point. So if you manage to sneak through Greece's border, and get into Greece proper, you can then roam anywhere you want. And with this inflow of migrants, I kind of understand why people want to say, forget it, a country's not a country without borders. But what can I say? I'm not so sure about the EU, but it's not my vote. It's not my decision. I'm kind of glad I don't have to vote in this one. Like I said, Joe Cox was murdered by an alleged Britain First supporter. And a lot of people are complaining. Yes, she was shot and stabbed. Now, for those of you Second Amendment types, the EU bans guns completely. So where he got the gun, how he got the gun, who knows? So for all of you saying gun laws stop gun violence, here's proof. They don't. Alright, on to my mailbox. I got a couple of stories I want to touch on. I know I've only got a couple of minutes left. We're going to take a quick peek anyway. Alright, there was an A-10 Warthog that landed on a highway for the first time since 1984. Now, this is taking an old page out of the U.S. military's Cold War manual and training for Air Force pilots. And now it wasn't done in downtown Brooklyn or anything. It was done on an isolated highway off in Estonia. So But it's the first time the aircraft, the A-10, has practiced highway landings since 1984. Oh, yeah. And the iconic ground attack aircraft was from the 127th Wing of the Michigan Air National Guard. Yes, you heard me, Michigan Air National Guard. And I'd like to thank all of those who serve for serving. You have raised your right hand and sworn an oath to protect and defend our country so that all of us may sleep under a blanket of freedom we would not otherwise enjoy. Now, I've gone over by a few seconds, but thank you for listening. And if you want to interact with me, there's a couple of really easy ways. I'm on Twitter at Jessie's POV. And there's a lovely contact form on my website. Now, for any of you authors out there that I haven't reached out to because I don't know you're in my feed, or I don't know you, or you're a listener and I haven't found you yet, please reach out to me. I'm starting a new show about books and writing, and I'd love to do it. Now, it's going to be a monthly show, but I think it's going to be fun. The name of the show is going to be Jessie's Coffee Shop, and it's not going to start until July. With that, I'm out of here!